Gimme the Hot Sauce podcast. It is now our pleasure to welcome in Denim Richards. He plays Colby in the award-winning show Yellowstone that's getting ready for a new season that's going to start in November. And I know fans of the show have been biding their time, just anxiously awaiting to see what's going to happen with all their favorite characters. What's it like for you as a cast member? I'm sure everywhere you go, people are saying, when is the show coming back, and what can you tell us about the storylines?
True. Yeah, mostly nobody cares about how we're actually doing. They just want to know about when the show's coming back. But yeah, no, it's great. You know, it just shows that there's a big commitment. But you know, it's beautiful. You have some of the best people that you could work with. Obviously, the show is heavily anchored with Kevin Costner for many seasons. And we were able to learn a lot. But we have other people like Cole Hauser, Luke Grimes. Kelley, Riley, and the list kind of goes on and on. So, we've all kind of become like one big family. So it's a beautiful thing to be able to kind of celebrate and share in the successes with everybody. And, looking forward to what happens next.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've gotten used to, like, when you watch horror movies, they always kill the black guy. The black guy never lasts.
You went right there.
Yeah, I'm going right there. Okay, so your episode when you guys were in the lake, okay, and you were with your girlfriend with the pink hair, the girl that has the
Teeter.
Teeter. Okay. When the dudes rolled up on y'all with the horses, I was like, oh, hell no. They're not getting ready to kill Kobe. No, I will boycott. If they're the only black guy on the show, if they kill him this early, I'm boycotting. And then when they trampled you with the horse and you survived, I was like, oh, thank God, man. Thank God.
So you felt very much in the same way that I felt when I was like, oh, damn, this is going to be, it was funny because I remember when the script came out for episode 8, I was at the gym and then I was coming back from the gym, and then Jen called me, and Jen Landon, who plays Teeter on the show, was like, hey, so Taylor Sheridan, the showrunner and the creator of the show, was like, just called me. He said, call Denim and tell him he doesn't die. And I was like, I didn't even look at anything yet. So I was like, damn, I didn't know that my life was, I didn't know it was up for a conversation yet. And so there's a lot of people that felt very much in the same way. But, to me, that's like, it's a beautiful thing. It lets people know that, like, I'm doing my job. But hopefully that they're also invested in the character and the character's wealth and health,
yes.
The health of that. So I'm excited, and it's been a beautiful thing to see just the reception, especially when it comes to the Black community, which I think for me is a major thing. I went to there's a thing that we have here in the U.S. called the Bill Pickett Rodeo.
Okay.
The Bill Pickett Rodeo is like the only all Black rodeo circuit. Started by a guy named Bill Pickett, who they ultimately got the character John Wayne from in Hollywood. And and so it's this Black rodeo circuit. So they travel from Los Angeles to Dallas to Atlanta. And I remember I got an invite a couple of years ago to attend the Bill Pickett Invitational in Los Angeles. And I was like, no, I'm going to go. But I was like, how many Black people really care about, the cowboy world and this, that, and the third? And then when I showed up to see like 13,000 people that are all there, with their kids and wearing cowboy boots and, their hats, I was like, wow, like this show has made such an impact across all communities. And so it's a beautiful opportunity to be able to represent that in a different light.
Well, and one of the things I like about the show is that, it's just not about just one thing that goes on. It's just not about Kevin Costner. The workers on the farm, everybody's involved. Everyone has these issues going on, and they really do a good job of including everybody.
Right. It's a big, it's a 1 hour feature film.
Yes.
Right. We always say we're shooting 1 hour movies. And I think that's the beautiful thing about being with, Paramount. Paramount has given us, Taylor and, 101 Studios have been given such amazing grace to really allow the seasons to really just take their time with it, right? And not having to necessarily go with a conventional, like, oh, well, it has to be 12 episodes, it has to be 14 episodes. Because sometimes a season only can really handle 7 or handle, 8, and I think that's something that was beautiful with this kind of network, to get this type of support. And everyone has gotten their love in their different way, right? It's very much like sports. Like, you don't ever know until your name is going to be called, and then you got to step up and be able to do it. And I look at that as being the show. Like, the first couple of years, it felt like you're kind of just, role playing a little bit, but you're learning the atmosphere, you're learning the world. And then when your number is called to really do something, meaningful, then hopefully you've learned enough and go out and knock it out of the park.
When Cole Hauser goes into his rip mode, does he physically intimidate people just in the mode he gets into? He's a scary guy when he's on the show.
It's a funny thing. Cole is probably the nicest person that I have ever met, if not one of the nicest and most giving people that I've ever met. And it's so fascinating because, yes, he has a very large stature, and he's very intense, but, it just shows like that's how great of an artist he is, but, outside of set, he's goofing around and having fun and laughing, and talking about whatever. It could be sports and business and, so it's a beautiful thing. I think the funniest thing now is like when you get to watch, your friends play, on television now, you get to see like how fun it is for them. Like you're really rooting for them because you can see like, man, like this is the complete opposite. Like you're not like that at all. In the same way that, Kelly Riley is nothing like that.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like they're just so talented, and Taylor has written these characters to be able to be so immersive, and he's given us so much space to really come into our own with them and not give us necessarily a direction, but just giving us a framework. And I think that the camaraderie of this cast has really allowed for it to shine through. And I think that's why it's been received so well by the audience.
There's so many scenes where the cast is riding horses, and I know that you're very familiar and comfortable riding a horse. You have any stories about other actors, maybe not so much, that had to tough their way through some of these scenes?
To be honest, I feel like, I had a little bit of experience, writing beforehand, but nothing that can, compare to what you're doing on Yellowstone. So I feel like in that regard, we kind of became almost all equal because, it's funny because, you'll meet people and, people will message you online and say like, we're cowboys and we ride horses and we do that. So like, we could do what you guys are doing. And we're always like, no, I'm almost certain that you probably do it 10 times better than what we could ever do, while you guys are doing it on the farm. The difference of what we're doing is, we're doing that work, but then we're also having to do it with cameras and with drone shots or helicopters and 600 people standing in the background, right? You have to hit marks, you have to say dialogue, right? You have to be able to frame it for camera. So it's not as maybe as free as it would be if you were actually just doing it with, without you filming anything. But I think for us, it's been amazing. We have the best wranglers and the best writers probably in the world that are working on that show. And I think we've all grown exponentially. So we definitely feel like on all of our resumes at the end of the show, we could put expert when it comes to cowboy. So just in case, if the times ever get super, super tough, hopefully I'll be able to find my way around the ranch somehow.
Talk a little bit about Taylor Sheridan. I mean, I did not know he is as talented as he was. I remember seeing him on the episodes of Sons of Anarchy. He was David Hale, the sheriff, and he ended up getting killed in that thing. Yeah. But I did not know he's this good of a writer because he's a screenwriter on two of my favorite shows, the Mayor of Kingstown and Tulsa King.
Jeremy Renner.
And not only that, to add, we love Yellowstone, but those are two of my favorite shows. And he's a screenwriter on a lot of good material, man.
Yeah, he's super talented, right? Like he wrote Zakaria, he wrote Hell or High Water, which is what I believe Jeff Bridges got nominated for an Oscar for. It's a gift, man. And, I think Taylor, more than anybody, I think, he's a perfect example of betting on yourself. He came into the kind of the game as an actor, but then, he was always writing, and he continued to write even when he was acting or even when he wasn't acting. And I think that's like an important lesson even for this next generation, that like you always need to be working on your craft, even when you're not necessarily getting a call up or even when you're not even getting a look, right? Like refine your craft even when no one's watching. And I think that when Hell or High Water came out, then they were like, do you have anything else? And he was like, well, I have this other project that you guys passed on 5 years ago called Zakaria. And they're like, great, let's do that.
Wow.
So, and now he has, like you said, Mayor of Kingstown, he has Tulsa King, he has Lioness, he has Landman now, with John Hamm and Billy Bob Thornton, obviously Yellowstone, all the spinoffs and prequels of Yellowstone. So, he's done very, very well for himself. And, the great thing about Taylor is, he's been very blessed, but it's not because of, the nepotism aspect of it. Not that there's necessarily anything wrong with that, because if you're working to build your last name, you would want your progeny to be able to benefit from that last name. But he really is put in the work, and he's been able to bless a lot of us from that as well. Like I wouldn't be here, you know, on this podcast without having been on Yellowstone. You know, so I'm very, very aware of what the opportunities have been that he's really gifted us over the last 7 years.
Well, speaking of this podcast, we talk a lot about basketball and those types of things. So tell us about Lockdown and also your book, Mastering the Mind.
Yeah, man. So for me, you know, Mastering the Mind was something that was important to me. I think I started it over in the 2019, 2020 because I knew that, you know, a lot of people probably were emotionally going to be very impacted. Rather it was directly or indirectly. And I think it was hard for a lot of people. And so it kind of became very like therapeutic, you know, for myself to kind of just have these little vignettes of kind of these daily type of things to be kind of writing on because, you know, during that time when you don't even have sports, you had no distractions, like nothing to really entertain yourself with. And I think it was like one of the first times, at least in our generation and maybe even our parents' history, where like everything was very introspective or you were just with the people that you had to be with all the time and really talk about real things. And I think that there's a lot of people that were probably struggling with that. And so for myself, I was like, you know what? These are some of the things that I always think about as a way to constantly try to overcome some of the negativity that you may encounter within your own mind or by society or with your environment. And so that was something that was really important to me. And I was happy to be able to release it, you know, into the ethos of the world. And it was received very, very well. I wasn't ever wanting to do it. I wasn't interested in trying to make money from it. It was just something that I felt like, you know, if somebody can go and get it, you know, we donate the money to some of our charities that we look at. And so, yeah, so we're very, very happy with that.
Of course. Tell us about Lockdown.
Why? Well, first of all, why are you guys all laughing?
No, because we're talking about basketball here, and then because that's what we talk about all the time, and I know you're a basketball player, so.
I love. So look, man, I am a avid basketball player. I have several iterations of my life where I feel like I could have been a basketball player in my own delusion, of course. But Lockdown there's a league or whatever that we do that's in, you know, South Africa and around, you know, and we have these teams and, you know, I was trying to play for one of these teams and then I realized, you know, maybe might be better as like a general manager or manager. But you know, I love sports so much. I think it's changed so much to my life. You know, I grew up watching basketball. I learned basketball. Obviously, everybody knew the Bulls, but I really learned the fundamentals of basketball from the San Antonio Spurs. Yeah. You know, from Greg Popovich, and you had, you know, David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Mario Elie, Avery, you know, Sean Elliott. It was like that 98, 99 team during even during the NBA lockdown, yeah. Right? That's the lockout, I guess, if you will. That's when I really started to learn about basketball in a different way. And then oddly enough, my favorite basketball player was like Latrell Sprewell. Don't ask me why. But there's the tenacity that dude used to play with that I felt like went unmatched. And so, yeah, I'm always an avid basketball player. Basketball is a little bit different for me now. I think that once they started taking some of the physicality out of it a little bit, I feel like for my generation, it kind of took some of that like spunk away from it in a little way. And I think it's very much more of a finesse game, which I think has its own talent, but I still kind of miss those days of the physicality, you know, where you could drive to the rim and someone can knock you off your feet and you just got to get up and deal with it. Because I feel that's very much how life is, right? Like there's no ref that's going to sit there and say, hey, don't let life touch you. You know, you're going to have to just deal with it. And so I learned so much of my life lessons from basketball.
It's an awesome analogy.
Yeah. So with Teeter, your co-star there, and she's most people probably don't know, she's Michael Landon's daughter, who got his big start on Bonanza. So maybe in the future you'll play a guy who talks to God and plays an angel, huh?
You know, Jen, I always tell people, they always ask me like, oh, you know, is Jen Landon, did she actually talk like that in real life? And I was like, I don't think anybody really talks like that in real life. Right. Like, you know, but, you know, Jen is such a phenomenal, you know, artist, and she's such a giving artist. And, you know, the fascinating thing about Jen is that, you know, she, you know, when her father passed away, she was still very young. And so, you know, one of the things that she talks about often is like she learns so much about her dad through everybody else's experiences with him. And so it's always fascinating because, you know, he's even till today, such a cherished person for so many of like our parents and grandparents. They were such a big part of their lives. And so she gets to feel kind of that love by extension. But she's such a giving artist. And of course, as the show kind of rounds off, today was like the last official day of filming for the show. And then we're premiering November 10th. We're always looking for the opportunities to work with each other in the future. We'll obviously be doing a lot of press together and things of that. So you'll be seeing a little bit more of us. Hopefully there'll be a world where we can be together on something else somehow down the road where I actually will be able to understand.
Well, are you going to get to sing this year with Ryan Bingham or get a solo?
No, we got so many people between Ryan Bingham and Luke Grimes and Kevin Costner. I mean, at this point, there should have just been like a Yellowstone kind of concert tour that everyone should be going on. So I think I'm just gonna leave that iteration of them to themselves. And I don't think me being trained as an opera singer, I don't think that fits very well within the country world. So I think I'm just gonna sit this one out, and then I'll drink the whiskey.
That sounds like a good plan.
I heard that we see Kevin Costner in some of the trailers. Are we going to see him in any of the episodes?
It's a great question. It's the funny thing about this show this year specifically was this show was kind of like getting redacted. We got redacted scripts, right? So like we didn't really get to know everything. Was very compartmentalized because they were so they wanted to make sure that there could be no leaks because it is such a big thing, and there's been 18 months of the show kind of taking a break. And then obviously we actually had the actual lockout, right? Which of the, during the actor strike and all those other things where production was shut down for 10 months. And I think now that there's such an anticipation. So unfortunately for a lot of us, we don't really even know necessarily what happens with some of the plot lines. Like oftentimes we just show up to set and we only know what we say, right? Like we only know the scenes that we're in. We have no idea what happened before that or what happened after that or what's coming down the pipeline. So as much as I would like to say, yeah, he's in it, or no, he's not in it, I actually couldn't tell you at this particular junction at any year. I would actually be like, kind of being very tongue in cheek. But this year it's a little bit different where we actually have just redacted scripts and we have no clue what's happening.
You could run for office after that. You dodged that question beautifully.
So don't worry, you guys will be the first people I come to campaign.
Oh yeah.
So don't worry. I'm gonna hold you to that.
Talk a little bit. I know being an athlete, we have to. When you start off as a young kid, you play for the love of the game, just the love of sports. And as you get older, you're trying to grind. You got to practice. You got to make sacrifices to get to the top level, which is for us is the NBA and professional ranks.
Right.
Talk a little bit about being an actor and what you have to go through when you decide, like, I want to be an actor. I want to go to Hollywood. And, you might have to take odd jobs. You might have to, you might have 2 or 3 jobs while you're also getting casting calls. And then what it feels like to get that big break, like what you got with Yellowstone.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I always say that, there's 2 types of artists in the world. There's those that want to be artists and those that were born to be artists. I think, for myself, I believe, I was born to be an artist. I wanted to pursue. I was been pursuing this since I was 5 years old. I started in theater, and then went from theater to musical theater, and and then I always, even when I was younger, I would, watching like all these action movies, right from, obviously from like the Will Smiths and like Independence Day and Men in Black, but then like even back then, to like Steven Seagal, right, like watching all of that, I was like, I just want to do that, because it just seems so cool. And, but then as you actually realize that you don't get to just say, I want to do that and then just do that. There's this entire ladder with a lot of rungs on that ladder. And, and when I got into, when I started to get into my teen years, there was a lot of sacrifices even with that, because it was like, I was running track and trying to play basketball, but then also wanted to have a social life, with my friends and play Madden and play NBA 2K, but then also having to study a script to go to an audition. And so like I failed so many auditions just by not being prepared by going into Hollywood. And then as I got into my 20s, I was doing a lot of theater, a lot of musical theater. I've done like a little bit over 20 musical theater shows and, just trying to really cut my teeth in it. But I was never able to break into television and film because my theater training wasn't translating to on camera. It was just too big. It was too loud. It was too animated, if you will. And television and film is a little bit more nuanced, right? And I think you kind of see that a little bit even when you're talking about like athletes, right? Like they talk about how the game is so fast as a rookie year, and then as they go on, the game just like slows down where it almost looks like you're playing in slow motion. And it's very like that as an actor as well. Like you'll go into an audition and then it's so fast. You're like just trying to get over the lines and just get the lines out. You're just happy to get the lines out. And then I think as you get older, you start to take more breaths. You start to cut your teeth a little bit more. You have more scars. And then, yeah, man, like there's a famous saying here in Hollywood that, you know, when you tell somebody you're an actor, they ask you what restaurant you work at. And, you know, and that's exactly, that was my story. You know, I worked at restaurants. I worked at like the Olive Garden and things of that nature. And, you know, and then I even had moments where I was like sleeping in my car, right? I was evicted from apartments because I couldn't pay, you know, and then I was sleeping in my car. And then I was like, okay, maybe I'll go and be like a background actor. And I remember everyone was like, there's no actor that exists that has ever been a background actor. And I'm like, well, I need to like try to find an opportunity to make money while also still staying within at least the pocket of something. At least it's still in the purview. Yeah. You know, it's like better than me going and working for like a law firm. Yeah. At least I'm around the set. And so I went and did that. And, you know, and then I got fired from being a background actor, fired from being a background actor. This is a story for another day. But I got fired from that. And then I just kept hustling. And actually the day that I got Yellowstone, it was actually because I was doing my first starring feature film called Montfort Chickasaw Rancher, which is on Netflix now, with Tommy Flanagan, who's also in Sons of Anarchy. And I actually had booked that gig while I was actually doing background for a short film, right? Like it just felt like I was like, I can't even get arrested in Hollywood in casting or anything. What is this for me? And I remember a casting director reached out to me that they really loved, you know, an audition. And I finally thought this was going to be my moment. And they're like, hey, so I have a client who's also producing, they're doing a short film. We'd love for you to come and do background. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, it's like, I'm fired from doing background. Now I'm doing I'm the background actor on short films. What am I doing? Like, what is life? And then I remember standing on the roof. This sounds very dramatic, but it's very true. I was in downtown Los Angeles and I was standing on a roof because that was where the scene was. And I remember sitting there just looking at over Hollywood. I'm like, I've been pursuing this thing for so long. Like, what do I have to do? Like, I feel like I've grinded, I've hustled, dedicated myself. I've gone to the auditions, I put in the work, like, and now I'm sitting here and I feel like I'm going backwards. And then it was like about 5:30 or something like that. And my manager had called me and she screamed me on the phone, blah, blah, blah. And she told me, she's like, you got it. And I was like, got what? And she was like, you know, Chickasaw Rancher. And then by the preparation of me being on Chickasaw Rancher, meeting Tommy Flanagan, he told me about Yellowstone. And then I went and read for Yellowstone. And then I waited about maybe almost 3.5 weeks or a month. And I was sitting outside doing another theater show outside of this place in Santa Monica and got the call and I just started crying in my car. You know, when they finally said like, you know, this is so big. And we didn't know that it was going to be as big as this, but I just knew that finally at that moment, you finally felt like there was a breakthrough, that you finally felt validated, you know, because, you know, for us, we grow up and, you know, our friends are going to law school and they're getting their law degrees or they're going to doctors, they're doing this. So they have all these benchmarks that show that they're progressing and becoming more successful. And for me, I'm like, I went to an audition, right? And so it's like your benchmarks are just not the same. So there was a hustle, you know, with that. But I'm very grateful for that hustle because I feel like it's turned me into the person that I am now. That makes me grind and appreciate what we have in a completely different way. There's a lot of people that pursue this like same way that, you know, people pursue the NBA. Not a lot of people get the opportunity to play or put on a jersey. And I think we have to appreciate that when we get the opportunity.
Well, that's fantastic. We really appreciate your story. And speaking for the 3 fans of the show, we really love watching you. We can't wait till November for the premiere of the season. Interesting that you wrapped it up. So enjoy the celebrations and the reflections with your fellow cast members. And we really appreciate you joining us on Gimme the Hot Sauce.
Hey, no problem. Next time I come to Chicago, I'm going to have to pull up.
Yeah, if you ever want to go to a Bulls game, we'll give you my number and I'll hook you up with the tickets.
I'm gonna tell you. So my brother-in-law is the biggest Chicago everything fan.
Really?
He is the biggest Chicago Bulls fan. He's the biggest Chicago Cubs fan. he like literally he is like the absolute biggest.
Wow.
So when I tell you that I'm absolutely taking you up on that offer, I am 100% certain.
Yeah, you let me know.
Because he will be listening. He will be listening to this podcast and be like, "All right, bro, I couldn't."
It's a done deal.
Couldn't do something.
It's a done deal.
Right,
you let me know. You let me know whenever you're gonna come to Chicago and we got a game during that time. You definitely got.
I'll get you the number. You got mine already, but yeah, we'll get that set up.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for all you're doing. Continue much success, and we'll talk to you soon.
We'll send you some of Stacey's signature hot sauce as well. Denim Richards, our guest.
Hey, please. Thank you so much. All right, y'all. Have a good one.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
That was fantastic.
Awesome.
I'll tell you, that show is just so great. You know,
it is
so good.
And it stands the test of time. So many shows that kind of limped to the finish line. This one just kept getting better and better.
Well, and here's the thing. Like, we're a sports podcast. We do a lot of sports, but what we try to do that separates us from a lot of people is we get away from sports sometimes, and we bring in guys like Denim. We bring in psychologists, to talk about mental health, and that's what makes it so fun. You get a chance to see what other people are doing and the impacts they're making. Just listen to him talk about, because we don't know what the day of the life of an actor is.
Right.
The grind and the hustle. Everybody when you meet in L.A., he said this. You see somebody in L.A., hey, what do you do? I'm an actor.
Right. Working in a restaurant.
Yeah, I'm working in a restaurant.
Tables,
Oh, I was
I
remember meeting somebody like in the 90s, and they said, this girl, she said, yeah, I was in Ghostbusters, but my part got cut out. I was on the cutting room floor. And I was like, oh, wow. Oh, okay.
Well, and when he's talking about his moments being on the roof in Los Angeles, that's like, look, Mom, I made it. I finally have a role that I can sit my teeth into.
Or when he was saying, because he didn't get the part yet, he was questioning himself, like, why am I doing this? Like, give me a sign. Like he's talking to God.
Right.
Like, hey, I'm up here.
We all have those moments,
man, I've been grinding. I've been doing everything right. Like, give me a sign. Like, what do I need to do? And he's right at that cusp of saying, maybe I should go to be a lawyer, work in a law office or something. And we've all come to that because, like, to get to a certain point in life, no matter whether it's sports or business or acting, whatever it may be, we all have to make sacrifices to get there. Right. I remember growing up playing basketball. I was always in the gym, and my friends were at the mall with their girls, and they're like, "Come on, let's go to the mall." Now I got to go shoot. Got to go work on my game. They're like, "Oh man, you always take a day off. Come on." Like, nah, I got to go work on my game, and you have to make sacrifices. When we got to college, they'd have parties every weekend. We got to study for tests because we got to stay eligible. Like, I can't be out partying when I got to.
I was at the party, so let's be clear about that.
You didn't even have to ask. He was already at the party. Yeah, he was always at the party.
Yeah.
So I guess the producer D is telling us we should tell you what we're watching. What do you got, Whispers?
Did I do Horizon last week? And it ties into this a little bit, but I've been watching the Hard Knocks, and then I did go see Deadpool Wolverine.
What'd you think of that?
I loved it, man. There's so many subtle lines in it. There's some of the stuff that would be like a kid would never pick it up. But
people think it's like, it's a Marvel movie. It's a comedy.
It's so nasty.
Right?
There's so many nasty comments. I mean,
you'd be canceled culture if it wasn't Deadpool.
The villain says, if we take this helmet off, are you going to kill us? Because they got to do she goes, I'm going to boil your organs while I'm flicking my bean.
Wow.
Just like Whispers.
Just like Whispers.
Well, kids are never going to pick that up, but I'm laughing like I'm slapping the armrest in the theater. Like that just killed. There's a lot of stuff like that, though. That's
adult humor. It's adult humor.
Yeah, that was, I thought it was well done in that regard, where it's going to be above a kid's head, but something that we're going to be roaring over. It's
until like an 8-year-old asks him, "Mom, hey, what is a bean, Mom?
Why is she flicking her bean?
Do you flick your bean, Mom? What is it?"
Okay, you don't have to go there. Hey, Mom, do you flick your bean? Wow, really? Okay. Just like King.
Oh, my God, I'm sorry, America. Oh, it's Deadpool,
boy.
baby. Deadpool.
Well, while Stacey pulls it together, I'm continuing to watch Tulsa King. There's 2 more episodes left, and it just gets better and better. Now they kill the old man. They're coming over to Tulsa to take care of Dwight. So we'll see what happens in the last 2.
Hold on, wait a minute, hold on. They killed the old man. What
Pete.
Who? You didn't get that far yet?
Who's the old man?
No, the head in New York, the head of the mafia.
Oh yeah, they drowned him in the pool.
Yeah.
Oh, you just got to that part.
Yeah.
Oh, Mark, I'm way ahead of you. I'm way ahead of you.
Oh, so now ruin it for Mark.
No, because I was like, who they kill? And I'm like, his son killed him. Yeah. And he pulled his hairpiece off.
Yeah. Then he starts going to get tough. You're not going to wear a bad wig anymore.
Yeah, he got all
Dominic Lombardozzi.
Yeah, he pulled his hairpiece off. He looks better bald anyway. I hate that hairpiece. But I'm telling you, Tulsa King is an awesome show.
Yeah.
It's an awesome show. I mean, even though Sylvester Stallone doesn't have like his lines are like, they're created for him. He does play a good.
It's always fun when he gives one of those Rockies, "How you doing?" to somebody.
How you doing? How you doing?
I also started rewatching Veep with Julia Louis-Dreyfus. In our political times, it's funny to see the bungling vice president and see what the cast around her of incompetent idiots, and there's a ton of swearing in it. I mean, it's on Max. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a good show when it came out. I started rewatching some things too. I rewatched Falling Down with Michael Douglas.
Oh yeah.
Because we were just talking about, me and Mike were just talking about somebody snapping one day. It's like, so we had brought it up. Hey, remember that movie Michael Douglas in Falling Down? How he was like, he got fired from his job. He was a straight laced guy, always tried to follow the rules, whatever. And then he just snapped one day. And then we were talking about the breakfast scene. When he went in for breakfast and the breakfast was like closed, it said breakfast until 11 o'clock. And he got in at like 10:58. And then they said, no, breakfast is closed. He said, what do you mean breakfast is closed? It's closed at 11. It's 10:58. I'm sorry, we decided we wanted to go a little early. And he snapped. He snapped. But that can happen. Because there's been some times I've been wanting to snap too. But my better self pulls myself
together. See the one with
together.
Russell Crowe when he snaps?
In which one?
From the horn was a little too long when he got beeped at.
Oh,
that was a little more violent.
I'm gonna tell you something. That does really get your goat when you're in a car and the light. You're sitting there waiting for the light to turn, and it's red. Soon a split second, the light turns green. Honk.
Well, a little tap is okay, but I guess they make a point in the movie. You just held it a bit too long, didn't you?
Well, I just don't like it. Like I hate when people do that. I really want to get out of my car and just choke them, because it's like, dude, the light just calm down. You're gonna get through the light. It just turned green. Yeah. Beep beep. I think it's just people just like doing.
Yeah, how'd you like to see a 6'11" guy getting out of his car after you'd done that?
Well,
yeah, but you know what, Mark? The better sense of Stacey King says, don't do that now with conceal and carry. Ain't nobody blasting me, Mark. Some little 5'2" guy shooting the king in the knee. Oh hell no!
But I had that experience once with Stacey.
Did you?
Yeah, we were out golfing, and because we're so good, Stacey shanked one off, and while the guys were trying to putt and landed it on the green.
Yeah.
And they started yelling, "You assholes, mother this and that." And we go riding over there in the cart. Stacey gets out. Oh, hey,
sorry.
Hey, Mr. King, you want to play through? You want
to you like to go through? You guys can go right ahead.
You should have seen the change.
Yeah.
Can we get you a beer at the 19th hole?
You like my wife? No, I don't want your wife, buddy. I don't want your wife. Okay, just don't be talking shit. I hate that. Listen, I'm not a violent person, okay? I don't look for trouble, but I don't run, okay? There's ways you handle things, man. Like you never know who's on the other end of something. You never know who's had a bad day, who's had a bad week. So you got to be very careful.
Most people have.
That's what I'm saying. You got to be very careful with confrontation. Yeah. If you're somebody honking the horn, and you don't know that guy in front of you is like, he might have just lost his job or something, and he snaps. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. So chill out, relax.
Remember that Lee Murray story? We're talking about that documentary. I brought it up on What You're Watching a while back. Did you guys ever catch that? So he actually had a guy, he's basically the best fighter in the world, a guy who's laying on the horn and then gets so upset he starts backing his car into the side of Lee Murray's car with his wife and kids in the car, and glass goes all over his baby.
Oh, man. And
so he gets out and yells at the guy, but the guy tries to take a swing at him. Well, he hits the guy. It only took one hit, and he killed him. And that's what
Lee Murray killed him?
That kind of ruined his career, and then why he had to pull the biggest bank robbery in history, which is so bizarre. But
wow.
Yeah.
I might need to look at that.
Oh, it's an incredible documentary. Like, this guy, it's just a wild story, but that's part of it.
An extra recommendation from Timmy Whispers. You only get it here.
Yeah, you only
Give
hear
Me the Hot Sauce.
About a psychotic guy killing people in traffic.
I love those stories.
Yeah, he loves those kind of stories, America.
We're coming right back with some viewer comments and whatever else we got left on Give Me the Hot Sauce.
Hey, what's up? This is Stacey King.
And I'm Timmy Whispers.
Of Gimme the Hot Sauce podcast. Each week, make sure you join us. Timmy Whispers, what do they need to hit?
They need to hit like and subscribe so they get all the notifications and news from our podcast.
That boy is sweet. Just make sure when the video's over, click to the left, and you'll hear our previous videos for the previous week and have some fun, because we'd love to have fun on Gimme the Hot Sauce podcast.
Woohoo!
It's only preseason, but I'm hyped, Neil